And some may find our next story a bit of a head scratcher, to say the least. Imagine being fired from your job for something you didn't do. That's exactly what two former Metrolinx employees say happened to them. They've now launched a human rights complaint, saying they were unfairly robbed of their dream jobs. Joining me now with more on this tough situation is City News reporter Janella Massa. Janella, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, the basis of this complaint has to do with a human rights complaint, and rather the human rights complaint has to do with a police background check.
That's right, Adrian. Good morning. Good to see you. So Tyru Tabin and Jocelyn Muncie were both very excited to be hired by Metrolinx last summer as transit safety dispatchers. It was a very rigorous selection process for them to land those jobs, but they were both let go soon after, and the reason was because they didn't pass Toronto Police background checks, but they were confused about why, because they didn't have a criminal record. Now, Toronto Police doesn't give any information when they release those background checks. They only issue a pass or a fail. So the two of them could only speculate about why. They got some documents from Toronto Police as part of a Freedom of Information request. Now, Jocelyn, her father was murdered when she was a child living in Regent Park, but she soon moved out of that neighborhood, and she doesn't keep contact with his side of the family. A couple of years ago, she also signed as a surety for an ex-boyfriend, but again, she doesn't keep in contact with him. Meanwhile, Tyru grew up in Flemington Park, and he has a close family member who was involved in criminal activity, but he says he doesn't associate with him. So the two of them are really confused. They're not sure if this is the reason why they were denied, and if it was, they feel they've been unfairly punished for other people's actions. They want to see Toronto Police change the way they conduct background checks because they feel that all of their hard work has been in vain.
I have no criminal record. I have no criminal charges. I've went to school, went to college, stayed off the streets, and I've done everything right as an individual.
It made me lose faith in the system because it's like, if I've never been convicted of a criminal offense, then why am I being treated as such? It looks like to me there's more protection for people who have actually committed criminal offenses because they can easily apply for a pardon. But unfortunately, in Tyru and I's case, we've never been convicted of anything. There's no system or file to wipe.
Interesting story, Janella. Now, what has the response been from Metrolinx? As we just heard from the both of them, they have no criminal record. They went to college. They've done all the right things, and here they are out of a job.
Yeah, so of course these two jobs require a criminal background check because of some of the sensitive information that transit safety dispatchers access. So their hands were kind of tied in this situation, especially since Toronto Police didn't provide any information as to why they passed or failed. Now, they wouldn't comment specifically on this case, but we know that their lawyers have begun discussions, but they do say that their contract with Toronto Police ended a couple of months ago, so they've now switched where they get their background checks from. They get them now, or they ask their candidates rather, to get them from Cobourg Police. Part of the reason they say is because they're just faster. Toronto Police takes a lot longer to come back with their results, but also because when Cobourg Police makes a decision, they also supply some information. So it's not just a pass or a fail, and that way the applicant or Metrolinx is able to come back with more context or more information and potentially ask them to reassess and make a new decision. Now, as for Toronto Police, they told us that when they do background checks, it is assessed by multiple people to ensure that there is no bias, and they say that that process, though, is currently part of an equity review, and they would be looking into whether or not any systemic discrimination or racism is involved in the way that they currently do those checks. Now, we are going to hear more from Tyru and Jocelyn tonight on City News at 5 and 6 about why this is about more than just losing a job, and we'll also hear from their lawyer why their lawyer is calling this a wrongful dismissal on the basis of race.
All right, Janella, thanks so much. A really interesting, important story. Looking forward to seeing that. Also, of course, will be available on citynews.ca. We'll be tuning in at 5 and 6 on City News. Janella, have a great day. We're going to send it over now to Mel and Devo.